We haven't been talking enough about Nick Bosa. 49ers have a lot of new defensive linemen. That's been the hype. That's been the expectation over the course of this offseason. But the elder statesman is still there, and he's more important than ever because he's going to have to be the guiding force for what the 49ers are doing up front. I know I talk so much about Mykel Williams and his need to develop as a pass rusher and the fact that he brings a lot of power to the table for the 49ers. Well, Nick Bosa is going to be the lineman on the opposite side who brings both power and finesse to the table. I still remember 2019, 49ers draft Bosa, number 2 out of Ohio State. And the first person that I call up is Larry Johnson, who is the defensive line coach for Ohio State. And I've never learned more in one interview than I did in that interview with Larry Johnson, who talked about the hand usage that Nick Bosa brings to the table and how he beats defensive linemen. Larry at the time said that Nick would be better than his brother, Joey Bosa. And at the time, that was a relatively controversial statement, right? That was something, wow, this guy, he just got drafted. He's going to be better than Joey Bosa, who already was one of the best pass rushers in football. And Larry Johnson was right. So the reason I remember that is because I know that Nick Bosa brings the technical know-how to the table, and I know that's where Mykel Williams, the 49ers' new defensive end, pick number 11, out of the University of Georgia, arguably falls short. I mean, he's a big-time power rusher, has measurables that jump off the charts, but the technical know-how is what Mykel Williams is still going to have to improve. And being in a room with Nick Bosa is what is going to allow that to happen. Chris Kocurek is a great coach, but Nick Bosa is a coach on the field now at this point for the 49ers. And he picked it up from Larry Johnson. He picked it up from his own dad, John Bosa. He picked it up from Joey Bosa, his brother, and now he's going to be able to pass it along to the other 49ers rushers in the room. And they've got a whole lot of new defensive linemen, but it's Mykel Williams as the bookend on the other side that I think is the most notable and most exciting piece. He was the highest pick out of all these guys. If he can deliver that pocket-pushing power combined with some hand refinement, the 49ers will have a star bookend to Nick Bosa. And that's, you've seen so many teams ride that formula to Super Bowl championships. You obviously have to have competent play at the quarterback position. We know that. But beyond that, you've got to have I think the second most important component of a championship team has been shown to be the edge rusher spot. You have to have the bookending edge rushers. And I think that the 49ers haven't had that really since, they haven't had a star position like that, like a star combination at both of those bookending spots since Dee Ford was healthy back in the 2019 season. But they've had decent guys there. They've had their Amenahus. They've had their Arden Keys. I think Mykel Williams gives San Francisco a chance, though, to take a big swing here. They have taken that big swing and raise the ceiling of that bookending spot to something that they had back in the day, back in 2019, but just for such a short period of time before Dee Ford started suffering those injuries. Now, this is far from a finished product, and it may take Mykel Williams a year or two to get to that point where he does have more polished pass rushing moves to where the 49ers can say, okay, this is something that might rival 2019. But I think that the reason that they picked him and we're so excited about picking him is that they think that right out of bed he's going to have the power that helps Nick Bosa, that pushes the pocket back into the quarterback, that allows the really skilled edge rusher, the guy who's been a defensive player of the year, to deliver at the very highest of levels. This is a 49ers alarm clock update, so we cover everything that's been going on with the team. Yesterday, we talked about Drake Jackson. We talk about Williams bringing power. Drake Jackson, I think, brings a little bit more finesse, a little bit more speed/athleticism, even though he's a larger edge rusher. He posted on social media that he's going to be wreaking havoc or wrecking havoc this year. No, wreaking havoc. He posted wrecking havoc, but it's actually supposed to be wreaking havoc, so it confused me. But that was yesterday's video. We talked about Drake. Make sure to check that one out. That was a nice little walking video. If you guys like the technique on that one, got to give credit to Lombardi herself for the camera work. That was a good one. This time, I'm doing the camera work myself. with the help of some lighting. This is a nice sunset, by the way, at Shaver. So that was yesterday. Also yesterday, some news as far as the NFL draft goes. It is moving to Washington, D.C. in 2026 on the Capitol Mall. So they go from Green Bay to Washington, D.C. Obviously, it's going to be a first-time occurrence in Washington, and it's going to be another big draft for the 49ers. They, I thought, really succeeded in 2024. That's already clear. We will see if their 2025 11-player haul is a success. That's going to be coming up here at the end of this week. Rookie minicamp, our first look at the 49ers rookies, and then obviously the season is going to give us the first verdict on this 2025 class. Well, 2026, the 49ers have the most comp picks in the NFL by a wide margin over this 5-year stretch that we're currently in to begin the decade of the 2020s. So they're going to be loaded with draft picks again in 2026. Those will officially be made in Washington, D.C., although the 49ers will phone them in from Santa Clara. I wonder if they phone them in or if there's some kind of internet connection. That's something I'll have to check in on, because this past year, I think it was day 3 of the draft, the internet started being a little shaky in Santa Clara. And I was worried that, I was sitting there in the draft room, or I was sitting in the media room, and I was worried that the same internet would be affected in the draft room. And then it's like, well, how are the 49ers going to pick the 7 guys that they have to pick on the final day of the draft if they don't have internet? So they better be sure that it's all shored up for next year. I don't think it affected any of their picks here in 2025. But 2026, it's all part of that building process. I came out with my first 49ers post-draft look at the salary cap, where I look at the 53-man salary cap for San Francisco. I have them at about $36 million of room after the entire 2025 draft class is accounted for. So that is 11 players, assuming that a good handful of them make the roster. If all of them make the roster, to be about $15.3 million against the 2025 salary cap, which just goes to show you how important the draft is. $15 million for 11 good-looking players, well, that's cheap, right? That's cost efficient. Probably we won't see all 11 make it, so that I think the final price tag will probably be somewhere near $11 or $12 million. Really, really good price tag for the 49ers. And when you take a look at the salary cap calculations that I've made, that leaves San Francisco with over $30 million to work with moving forward. Unused space carries over from season to season. I think they would ideally like to carry over $20 million from 2025 to 2026. It won't be nearly as much as they carried over from 2024 to 2025, but they've got to get this Brock Purdy deal done. And the Purdy deal will probably be backloaded and come in somewhere around $15 million for the 2025 cap hit. Then it's going to escalate past that, and the 49ers will surf the wave of the rising salary cap. So everything works hand in hand. It is a gigantic puzzle that the 49ers must figure out as they work toward the 2025 season. All of that stuff is up on my salary cap sheet, which you can see at the link, which is provided in the description. $36 million right now. Take maybe $10 million more for Brock Purdy after that deal's done. $26 million will be the number following the Purdy contract, and then the 49ers will need to save some money for in-season expenses. Those in-season expenses we'll take them down to about 20. Carry over the unused space into 2026 and continue surfing the wave of that rising salary cap. This has been your 49ers Alarm Clock Update. Hope everybody has a great day.